and welcome to We Poets. My name is Sally Baker, and I'm the host of We Poets. We Poets is a poetry show for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 13. Tonight we have 3 winners of a special contest called Grandparents' Tales Contest, and then I'm going to interview the storytelling director at Stagebridge. So I know we're going to have a wonderful show tonight. So here we go with our first winner. Hello, young man.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Good. Can you look there at camera 3 and tell us your name and how old you are, please?
My name is Rhett Martin, and I am 8 years old.
And who did you write your story about?
My grandmother,
And what's your grandmother's name?
Jacqueline DeSaw.
Is she here tonight?
No, she lives in Arizona.
Well, good. You can send her a copy of the tape. So let's go ahead and hear your story, please.
My grandma was born on May 29th, 1945. She grew up in what back then was called Bombay. She had 3 brothers and no sisters. Her brothers' names were Reggie, Jerry, and Desmond. Sadly, Reggie and Jerry passed away. Reggie was the oldest, then Jerry, and then my grandma, and finally Desmond. My grandma got her name from her parents. Her dad's name was Jack, and her mom's name was Elaine. So they combined both of their names to make Jacqueline. My grandma started school at the age of 5. She was very happy growing up. She loved to play and do other stuff that made her happy. My grandma's favorite game was backgammon. She would play it all the time. Also, one of the things she loved to do was read. Sometimes her cousins would visit. My grandma moved to Daly City, California in 1980 when she was 35. But I'm going to tell you a story when my grandma was 6. My grandma was on vacation with her cousins and some of her parents' friends. They were staying at a rental house in India. She was up on the 2nd floor, but in India, they call it the 2nd floor the 1st floor, and the 1st floor the ground floor. So my grandma was jumping out from the open window onto her bed. My grandma and her cousins were being naughty at that time. Her parents were in a different room playing cards with their friends. So when my grandma stepped on the open window, she lost her balance and fell down about 30 feet on the concrete. Her cousins were screaming from the bedroom. Her parents came running down as fast as they could. When they got down there, they found her lying on the concrete unconscious. Her parents were very worried because there was no close hospital around. So her mom picked her up and carried her to the train station, going to the hospital. Her mother carried her in her arms throughout the whole train ride. At the hospital, the doctors told her that she had fractured her collarbone. They also told her that what had saved her life was when she fell, she hit a rain guard from the ground floor, then fell on the concrete. It took 5 to 7 weeks to heal. The end.
Great. Let's clap. Wasn't that a wonderful story? Very nice. I'm very proud of you. I can see why you were the winner of the contest. Now, is there anything else you'd like to tell me about you? I know you have to leave early. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us before you leave? Is it your first time on TV?
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. Well, thank you so much, and I know you're going to have a good summer. Thank you again for coming. Let's give him another round of applause. And now we have another winner of the Grandparents' Tales, a pretty young lady. So she's going to read her story. And on my left here, I have her beautiful grandmother. So here we go. Hello, young lady.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Good. Can you look there at camera 3 and tell us your name and how old you are, please?
My name is Kate, and I'm 8.
Good. And what's the name of the story that you wrote about your pretty grandmother?
I don't have a name.
Okay. Go right ahead and let's hear your story, please.
This is a story about my Nana. Her name is Marty Sketchley. She was born in 1940. When she was little, she always wanted to travel. So when she grew up, she was a flight attendant. Back then, they were called stewardess. In 1965, my Nana began her job serving passengers on airplanes. At that time, only women could do this job, and you could not be married. You had to get your weight checked and get your nails painted. You had to wear something called a girdle so your skin would not wiggle. My Nana thought these rules were stupid because what matters most is who you are inside. In 1967, my Nana had to quit her job as a flight attendant because she got married. She had friends that were married in secret and they got caught and fired. My Nana was sad. She loved to fly and travel. She even dreamed about it. 20 years later, her dream came true. The airlines were now in trouble for discrimination. Discrimination means treating someone unfairly because they are different. My Nana was asked if she wanted her job back, and she said yes. She flew all over the world, and her favorite place was Hong Kong. Now the rules have changed, and anybody can become a flight attendant. Being kind and confident matters most. This story made me feel sad and happy at the same time. It made me sad because the rules were unfair and my Nana had to quit a job that she loved. It made me happy because the rules are now fair and anyone can be a flight attendant. Whoever stood up for these rules is brave. The kind of person you are is more important.
Great, let's clap. Wasn't that a wonderful story? Oh. I'm very proud of you. I can see why you won a prize for that. That's a wonderful, wonderful story. And now I'm going to say something to your grandmother. Wasn't that a wonderful story about you?
Very proud of her.
Oh, yes. So tell us something about you briefly.
After that, or?
Anything you want to tell us.
Been married 50 years this last year.
Oh.
And I have 3 wonderful grandchildren, 2 great daughters, and we still travel a lot.
Isn't that great?
Still part of my life.
And Hong Kong is still your favorite destination?
Africa, too.
Africa.
Yeah.
Which countries in Africa did you go to?
East Africa.
One of our volunteers here is from Africa. So maybe you can talk. Maybe you've been to her city.
Well, it's one of my favorite vacations. I've been there twice. I've been lucky enough to have been there twice with my husband.
Wonderful.
And her mom went with us the second time.
What kind of work does she do? Her
She's
mom?
a social worker in Alameda
Social-
County
Oh, I see.
with foster children, high-risk foster children, and adoption.
Isn't this great?
Yes.
Great.
Proud of her, too.
Yes. Now, is there anything else you'd like to say before we have our third winner come on?
No, thank you.
Is this your first time on TV?
Yes.
Well, you did a wonderful job. I'm very proud of you. And all your friends are going to see you on TV, and they're going to be proud of you, too. What profession do you think you'd like to pursue when you graduate from high school and college?
I don't know.
You don't know? Would you like to be a flight attendant like your grandmother?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Anything else you'd like to say before we have our next winner come on?
Just thank you for having us here.
Well, thank you so very much, and you look so beautiful. Thank you for coming and being on We Poets. Let's give them a round of applause. And now we have a handsome young man. He's also the winner of the Grandparents' Tales contest, and he also brought his handsome grandfather. So I'm going to interview our winner first, and then his grandfather. Hello, young man.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Good. Can you look there at camera 3 and tell us the name of the story you wrote about your grandfather?
Grandparents' Tales.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
I interviewed my grandfather. Grampy was born in Holton, Maine. He moved to Milo, Maine when he was 5 years old. After graduating from high school, he went into the Navy. He was stationed at Treasure Island Naval Base in San Francisco. That is where he met my grandmother. My grandpa was then stationed on a ship during the Vietnam War though he didn't fight in Vietnam. There were many things going on while he was on the ship. Sailing on a ship was an experience he will never forget. His ship visited many interesting places around the world, like Panama, Turkey, and most of the countries of South America. When he got out of the Navy, he knew he never wanted to live through another snowy winter in Maine again. So he came back to California. The memory of meeting my grandmother on the beach in San Francisco was the thing that changed my grandfather's life forever. My grandfather and grandmother were married in a double wedding ceremony with my grandmother's identical twin sister. Next year, they will celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. The house we live in is the same house my Grampy and Grammy lived in when they were raising their children. I sleep in the same bed my father slept in when he was a child. One of my Grampy's happiest memories as a child was taking the train to go visit his cousins on his uncle's dairy farm. He also liked going to the movies with his friends and walking home through the swamp near his home. The scariest memory he has was when he was in the Navy and his ship was at the center of an earthquake. The ship shook so hard that everyone thought the ship would break apart and sink. The end.
Great, let's clap. Wasn't that a wonderful story? Oh, I'm very proud of you and so proud of your grandfather. Father, I know you really love him, don't you? Do you think you'd like to go into the military? No, you don't want to do that. No, I don't blame you. Grandfather, would you like to have a quick word before we end this segment?
Well, I don't know what I'd say, except that I don't think he should go in the service either.
Well, I don't blame him. And what country do you like the best if you had to, as far as if you had to visit, not be in the military?
If I had to visit not being in the military, would be any of the countries that I didn't go to.
That you didn't go to, okay. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for coming, and I know you're very proud of your grandson tonight, and I can see why he was a winner. Let's give him a round of applause. Welcome back to the second half of We Poets. I'm Sally Baker. I would now like to introduce you to a very special guest for tonight. His name is Kirk Waller. He is a storytelling director at StageBridge, and you just heard 3 of the wonderful winners of the contest. So now he's going to tell us some more about StageBridge. Hi, Kirk.
Hello, Sally. How are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm so glad you could bring these 3 winners. Didn't they do a great job?
They did. I'm not surprised that they were the ones who were selected as a winner. They did such a good job.
Yes. Now tell us, what is StageBridge?
StageBridge, it's a senior theater company. It's located in Oakland, California, and we've been around for a long time. It's the oldest senior theater in the country, 40 years this year.
Great.
And what we do is it's called creative aging. So we have programs in the performing arts for older adults, 50 years and older, storytelling, tap dance, singing, theater, acting, anything that has to do with the performing arts. And then we go out in the community and do programs, outreach programs, as some like the Grandparent Tales, and we do other programs as well.
Great. Now, what is your role?
So I'm the director of storytelling. So as the director of storytelling, I'm in charge of anything that has to do with stories. So I work with Barbara Johnson, who's our schools coordinator, and she initiated the Grandparent Tales contest. And so I'll send storytellers out to the schools to teach the children about storytelling, to have them get up and learn, practice stories, to help them with the Grandparent Tales contest as far as writing and interviewing and creating a good story. As well as I train the storytellers that do all kinds of other events. They do public performances. They perform at rehabilitation programs to other seniors. They have performances at the Marsh. We do camps. Anything that has to do with storytelling and outreach, I have my hand somewhere in there.
Great, great. Now tell us more about the Grandparents' Tales contest if people would like to get involved.
Sure, it's been around for a long time. StageBridge has been around for 40 years. This contest has been around for 18 years.
Good.
And so it's open to anybody in the United States, I guess outside the United States too, but we've had people as far as New York and Maryland submit stories for our contest. But anybody between the ages of 5 and 12 can submit a story, either about their grandparent, about another older relative, or about an elder in the community as well. And they interview them, create a story, they submit the story, then we select judges that are sometimes our board members or sometimes our own senior students or others, and they read the stories, they rate them, they select the ones that they feel were the best stories, well written, well created, and actually a really good story. And then the winners get to either share their story on this wonderful program called We Poets,
Thank you.
or they get to read their stories at a bookstore, which we did last week in Books Inc. in Alameda.
Oh.
And the winners get a book, which we'll talk about, I guess, in a few moments.
Yes, when the children come on. Good, good. Now, why do you feel this Grandparents' Tales contest is important?
I think it's very important. The more I do it, the more I think it's something that we need to invest in, because it's an intergenerational program, so it connects children with their own grandparents or an own elder, and they get a peek into a different time and a different place. By interviewing, they learn more about another world, another life, and it also really brings them together. It's something that by the children having to do this, they get to talk to them. They have to ask them questions. They learn a lot of things about them, and it's really a wonderful opportunity. Sometimes they learn things that either the parents themselves may not have known, or the children didn't know, because they're very specific questions about things that may have happened in their lives.
Great, great. Now, what are some upcoming things at StageBridge? Can you tell us?
So sure, StageBridge has a lot of programs. Even though it's summertime now, we have summer intensive workshops going on, week-long or 2-week-long programs. And then in the fall, we kick back in, we're on the semester schedule. So we start in September. We offer 12 to 13-week classes in all kinds of different music and singing and acting and tap dance and StageBridge and improvisation, storytelling, anything like that. But that starts back in September.
Great. So if anyone wants to get involved, what do they do? It's going to come up on the screen, but you tell us too.
Sure. If you are interested in having your child participate in the Grandparent Tales contest, you can look up stagebridge.org. There's information right there on the screen, and the guidelines and the deadlines and all that will be right there on the webpage.
Great, great. Now, what do you see for your future?
Well, what I do in addition to being the director of storytelling is I am a storyteller. So I'm going to keep on telling stories, keeping the flame burning, keeping stories going, because I think it's something we can't get enough of. Our personal stories, as well as passing along folklore and stories like that.
Now, how did you start out being a storyteller?
The same age as these kids, but mine unfortunately didn't have the same type of beginning. I was in about the 4th grade. My teacher asked me to do an assignment, and I didn't do it. I put it off. I procrastinated. Should not have done that. However, when she called my name, I stood up. I took a deep breath, and I made up a story.
Good.
And from then on, I kind of, developed stories and got into theater and acting and plays. But that's kind of how I got my beginning. Wasn't a great beginning, but it had a great ending.
Oh, great. And you have 2 sons. Are they interested in storytelling?
One of them is a football player, but the other one is an actor. So he kind of is in the same type of area that I'm doing. He loves acting. He's been in almost 30 plays, and he's only 13. So I'm very proud of him.
Only 13?
Yeah.
What types of roles has he played?
He's been a genie in Aladdin. That was his last role. He's been in Big River. He was Tom Sawyer in Big River. and been in, that's the last two that I could think of. So many I kind of get blurred.
Really? Well, now how about you? Besides telling stories, what else do you do for fun?
Take care of those two sons. I'm a single father, so that's like my whole life, running around behind them and keeping up with them. They're 13 and 16 now, and they actually get busier as they get older, contrary to what I thought when I was a younger parent. There's more to do, and they don't have ways to get there, so I'm bringing them around back and forth and running them here and there.
And I know you play a musical instrument, right?
I play a couple.
Tell us about that.
So I play the banjo, and I also play an instrument called the ngoni. It's an ancient African instrument, a 6-string, 8-string, and 10-string instrument, which is the instrument of a griot, which is a storyteller in Africa where they pass on the stories by oral tradition. And that's one of the instruments that they might use, and so I'm learning how to play that.
Do you dance or sing?
Don't dance. I sing a little bit in my stories, just enough to help the stories out, but not enough to be called a singer.
Okay. Well, we're going to have the children come on, so I know they have some questions for you too. So boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, don't turn off those televisions. We're going to come on with the children, and they're going to ask him questions. So we'll be back in just a moment. And now the grandparents and the winners have joined us. And Mr. Waller is going to present something to each of our two winners. So here we go. So Mr. Waller, be our guest.
All right, so I just want to say these books that we brought were donated by either StageBridge students or the book program, and they're either brand new or just nearly brand new. And so the first one I want to share is called Did You Hear What I Heard? And we're going to give this to Kate. Congratulations, Kate.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything to Mr. Waller?
What kind of programs do you do at StageBridge?
Oh, there's so many that we do. Now, the programs are for like grandparent age, 50 years and older, and we do storytelling, of course, but we also do tap dance. We do improvisation, musical theater. We do acting, playwriting. We've even done ukulele classes actually at StageBridge as well. We've done harmonica classes. So anything that has to do with performing arts are the types of classes we do. The seniors have a lot of fun sharing. Not only do they learn, but then they go out and present and perform those skills that they learned.
Good. Okay, our second book, please.
And our second book is called Animals, and it's an encyclopedia, National Geographic book. And the lucky winner of this is Jordan. Congratulations, Jordan.
Good.
Thank you. And also, well, do you like classes? But what kind of acting classes do you have?
What kind of acting? Well, I do the storytelling, so I know a little bit about some of them, but not as much. So I know they do acting where they get up, they write the plays, and then they do a showcase at the end where they actually act out their classes. They get professional actors to come in and act out the skits and the plays that the students write. And so like the play acting, it's not like TV acting, but like plays that you might see. Those are the kind of acting that they get up and do. It's a lot of fun.
Great. Now, did you tell me that you wanted a pet?
I wanted a pet dog.
What kind of dog do you think you'd like to get? What breed?
I don't know.
You don't know yet, and you know you'll have to take care of that dog, right? Do you think it's very difficult to take care of a pet? What do you think some of the things you'd have to do to take care of it?
I would have to feed it, give it water, take it for walks. I would have to play with it
Yes.
and all the other stuff.
Oh, that's good, but I know that'll be a good companion for you. Anything else you'd like to say to our audience?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And this was your first time on TV. You did a wonderful job. I'm very proud of you. Anything else you'd like to tell us? I'm very proud of you, too. And I can understand why the both of you and the third young man who had to leave won a first prize in your storytelling programs. Grandmother, anything you'd like to say before we leave?
Just excited to be here and that Kate has this experience.
Yes, well, thank you for coming. Grandfather, anything you'd like to say?
The same here. I'm glad that he was selected for it, and I'm glad he finally made it through it without tripping over himself too much.
Well, he did a good job, and I'm very proud of both of you for setting a nice platform for these children to grow up to be nice young men and women. Kurt, anything else you'd like to say? I guess we still have a few minutes before we say goodbye.
Well, I'm a storyteller, so I could always share a little bit more. But the thing I do want to say is that the kids put a lot of work into these. You know, they work on them in class. The teacher will look at them. Sometimes the stage bridge students will come and give them suggestions. They teach them how to interview their grandparents or interview. Sometimes we'll have our seniors go into the classroom and they'll actually practice by interviewing them. And then they'll write their stories. And so it's a process for a lot of the classes. The ones that do it on their own, like that send it in from across the country, you know, they just write it on their own. But we really take a lot of time to try to elicit some really good responses and some really good questions. And it's something that I have found so valuable to that. Even though I've been involved in this about myself 10 years, but every time I hear a story, like hearing the stories about the war, those stories about discrimination, it just really touches my heart because those stories are going to be passed on to the grandchildren.
Yes.
And they'll remember them and grow up and tell the story about to their children and
Yes.
hopefully their grandchildren.
Yes, yes. And anything that's coming up again, you want to talk about the classes right quick this summer?
So we do have classes coming up actually that you can sign up now. They're happening in the next couple of weeks to the next month. And we have storytelling as well as acting classes. We don't have a summer camp this summer, but there's summer classes going on. And then of course we can start in the fall where we have like 10, 12, 15 classes. So we have a lot to choose from. And at stagebridge.org, you can just click on that and look around and find something for everyone.
Okay, well, I want to thank you all for coming. You did a wonderful job. And I would like to invite anybody who's watching our program, if you would like to be on We Poets, please call me. The number appears on the screen. I'm always looking for children like these children to come between the ages of 6 and 13. They have to write a poem. And we're always looking for interns. We train interns between the ages of 6 and 13 years old. This year, our interns came from El Cerrito High School, but I go out and get interns from Alameda and Contra Costa County. So we're always looking for interns. And most of all, we're always looking for sponsors. Because we're a nonprofit organization, we need contributions to bring you new shows. So if you would like to sponsor our program, please call me. So without further ado, let's all say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you for watching.